G'day mates, Squirrelblast here, and welcome back to another bloody review of The Freshman, a mob comedy about a college kid from Vermont who moves to the Big Apple, only to be immediately flung into a world of crime, lizards, and Mussolini. Minus Mussolini. It stars a star-studded cast of Ferris Bueller's Matthew Broderick, Glitter Wade's Penelope Miller, and The Godfather's legendary Marlon Brando. Now as a kid, this movie always perplexed me, because I didn't understand that it wasn't The Godfather. Before watching the movie, I had only heard of The Godfather through my family members and the innumerable references to it in other media, but I didn't actually know what it was. And with both these movies starring the legendary Marlon Brando as the head of a mafia family, I just assumed that The Freshman was The Godfather, or at least part of the same trilogy. It's only when I finally got around to using the internet more, I discovered that these two films were wildly different, both in their age rating and their critical acclaim. As you probably know, the first two Godfather films are considered some of the most prestigious films ever made, while The Freshman is not that. Still, I've always considered this movie to be a classic, and now that I'm older, and a little bit more informed about mafia movies, I was interested to see how this movie held up. Well, like always, let's start with the plot. Our main character is Clark Kellogg, who is a young whippersnapper from Vermont, who moves to New York City to study film, and to probably escape his animal extremist stepdad, who divides his time between lawyering and shooting at hunters.
What are you, nuts? You can't see the cap? It's not orange enough for you? Get out of these woods!
The first thing you'll notice about Clark Kellogg is that he's a really funny name. I mean, the way they say Clark in this movie reminds me of that one Boston Superman cutaway in Family Guy. And his last name is Kellogg, like the...
Just like the cereal.
Yeah.
Like the breakfast cereal.
Yeah, like the cereal. Darn it. The second thing you'll notice about this guy is that he's the definition of a fish out of water character, as he always finds himself out of the loop in nearly every scene he's in, being unbelievably naive and with questioning skills that would put Solid Snake to shame.
That thing is a lizard?
Yeah.
A trait that can normally be annoying to watch, but fits very well with this plot and is played quite endearingly by Broderick. Going back to said plot, Clark gets all his money and belongings stolen in record time.
I had been in New York for 19 minutes and 11 seconds, and I was already ruined.
And finds himself without enough money to buy his required reading. Like any true American. Lucky for him, the speedrun isn't over yet, as he gets good RNG on finding his thief. Though honestly, it's kind of embarrassing how long it takes for him to catch up to him. I mean, come on Clark, he's putting a trolley behind him and you still can't beat him? Either you're slow or he's insanely fast, and I can't decide which is more embarrassing for you. After catching up with the robber and discovering that he's already lost all his stuff, Clark does the sensible and normal thing by not calling the cops, and instead decides to take up a job opportunity with the robber's uncle. Wait, what? Surprise, surprise, it turns out his new boss is a mob boss, who looks shockingly similar to the one in Godfather. Actually, that's no joke, they literally make reference to it in this film.
He's the real thing, the original merchandise. When they saw him, they based the movie.
The Godfather expanded universe is insane, my dude. Now I just gotta figure out where my cousin Vinny fits into the timeline and we'll be all set. This guy's real name is Mr. Sabatini, and he coerces Clark into doing a simple pickup and delivery job with an unknown package for $500. Which our mob boss friend here promises will be totally legal. Haha, sure buddy. When Clark goes to pick up the car for the job, he meets Mr. Sabatini's daughter Tina, and she instantly begins seducing the hell out of him. That's a list of Clark's problems. Seriously Clark, you're from Vermont, not Mars. You should know better than to mess around with the daughter of a mob boss, dude. Fast forward a bit and we get to the package, which turns out to be a dragon. A Komodo dragon? Nice, now I can take off lizard from the opening. Now I just need a Mussolini. There it is! After some short, and I do mean short shenanigans during the delivery, we find out its destination. A gourmet club, where they eat endangered animals. Yes, just like the pirates. Feeling his conscience, Clark spends the rest of the movie trying to find a way out of his current predicament, while dealing with the cops, the Godfather's sex-crazed daughter who wants to marry him, and fighting his own internal morality and loyalties. This movie is a full-on cascade of trouble for our boy Clark, from beginning to end. This may sound pretty difficult to watch, but the film is able to keep everything above board, mostly due to the strong acting of our two main leads, Brando and Broderick. Brando's performance here is great at grounding the movie in its mob motif, while Broderick brings the comedic reactions that sell every joke. As I said before, Broderick plays the naive fish out of water surprisingly well, crossing the Forrest Gump day threshold of endearingness. even if sometimes his naivety can be incredibly annoying and unbelievable, which I'll get back to later. Speaking of the comedy, it is surprisingly visual and cartoony. It feels almost evocative of the type of skits you'd find during the silent film era, like the car switch scene with the cops, the random popping up of a guardsman at the estate, and the entire lizard sequence at the mall. Which I will say crosses the line for me between cartoony and unrealistic. It definitely feels like the most out of place sequence in the entire film, almost like a kids movie. Outside of these handful of skits, most of the comedy derives from the characters' interactions, like Mr. Sabatani flooding espressos with sugar, Tina's insanity, Victor's sleaziness, and Clark's roommate's attempts to protect his swagger. My favourite running joke in the film is how no one can remember what state Clark's from, a running joke that would fit right at home in a Naked Gun film.
My nephew tells me you're from Kansas.
Vermont.
But
My dad tells me you're from Nebraska.
Vermont.
Clark Kellogg from the great state of Montana.
Not that The Freshman is a spoof film. In fact, I had to give the movie props for keeping itself grounded in the mob aesthetic without using it as a crux for its comedy, which would age this movie faster than you can say Scary Movie. The only main critique I have for the film is its pacing. It feels like some scenes and concepts are just thrown at you without the proper build-up to really justify them, as if someone went into the editing room and snipped out a handful of scenes at the last second. For example, after Clark is hired for the mob job, he gets his roommate, a rejected King's member, to help him out.
You looking to join the king?
What's confusing is that there's no scene of Clark actually hiring him on for the job, which feels important to mention because they've only ever had one scene together before this, and that scene didn't really feel like they were building any amount of camaraderie, like the type that, I don't know, would convince someone to possibly break the law for the mob. Like, is this guy getting some of the money? Did they become friends off screen? How much does this guy really know about Clark's deal? Because there's no scene explaining it, we as the audience have to infer what he knows. And seeing as he quickly drifts to the backlines after this, what I'm really saying is that we have to infer his entire character motivation. Speaking of motive, Clark's is constantly changing. At first he wants to get his stuff back so he can pay for his college books. However, after he starts working for Mr. Sabatini, that motivation goes completely off the wayside. We don't even see him buy any of his books, or even spend any of his money. So again, you have to fill in the blanks for yourself. He then spends the middle part of the movie trying to escape his deal with the mob. However, after a helping hand of stalking, he completely backflips on this and decides to instead join Team Mobster and protect Mr. Sabatini from the police. This constantly changing character motivation makes it difficult to relate to Clark on a personal level. For one, I really don't understand his affection for Mr. Sabatini. It feels like this comes from completely left field and is exceptionally artificial. The narrative idea for their relationship is that Mr. Sabatini is a second chance for a father figure in Clark's life, as he lost his father at a young age, which is illustrated the best when they have their heart-to-heart in Clark's dorm, a scene which most reviewers agree is one of the best in the movie. However, the lead up to this scene lacks heart, because all in all, Clark lacks agency in this plot. He is constantly being forced to do stuff he doesn't like, and his displeasure with this fact is his most consistent characterization throughout the entire movie. So it feels unbelievable to me when Clark is caught by the police and is facing 2 years in prison, and he decides not to sell out Mr. Sabatini. For whatever reason, Clark feels a hesitation to betray his boss, out of loyalty and respect. Even after being told the truth about his role in the Gourmet Club, he refuses to believe that Mr. Sabatini would have any part in the killing of endangered animals. But why? He's a criminal. There's no proof he has any moral convictions at this stage in the story. What is Clark basing this on? Again, it feels like we're missing a key scene that would explain a character's motivation. To remedy this, they could have added a scene where Clark finds out Mr. Sabatini is a vegetarian, or maybe sees him save a turkey from being slaughtered. Something foreshadowing like that, which shows he wouldn't hurt animals. Like Tony Soprano over here. Without that scene, their crucial relationship isn't as deep as the rapport between the actors lets on. The finale of the film sees Clark join forces with Mr. Sabatini, and the mobster reveals to Clark that the so-called police that Clark's stepfather is working with are actually part of a rival family, who are going to shoot them all dead unless Clark follows his plan to a T and helps to lay a trap.
They just use me, and once they get you, they're gonna hit you. Oh my god, this is terrible.
At the gourmet dinner, the Komodo dragon is shown off and is about to be cooked until the corrupt police and Clark's dad intervene. In the struggle that comes next, Clark shoots Mr. Sabatini in the chest, and the crooks make their escape with the money. only to be arrested themselves by the FBI. As it turns out, Mr. Sabatini was shot with a blank, and the plan worked like a charm. Instead of killing the Komodo dragon, it's revealed that instead they'll cook up a chicken, unveiling the whole gourmet club as a scam. With his father figure proving to be a nice guy after all, Clark and Mr. Sabatini go for a walk with the lizard, credits rolling as they do. So yeah, we find out that everything from the beginning was orchestrated by Mr. Sabatini, and that all this craziness was all according to plan. This recontextualizes the entire movie, as all the wackiness performed by the mobsters, from the robbery to the marriage proposal, were all done to manipulate Clark into getting these two crooked cops arrested. On the one hand, I can appreciate how this plot twist plugs up some of the plot holes originally in the story, and justifies Clark's naivety and stupidity throughout the film as being all part of the plan. On the other hand, it feels like kind of a cop-out solution to the plot, and over-convolutes a story that was already unraveling come its end. The movie hand-waves this criticism away by playing up just how smart Mr. Sabatini is, but I don't know about that. I mean, couldn't there have been an easier way to get these two crooked cops arrested? Like, I don't know, leaking the information yourself? All they wanted from Clark was the location of the gourmet club anyways, so why not just give it to them? Or if you need Clark's stepdad part of it, why not just leak it to him instead? No Clark required. Like, if Clark didn't call up his mum about the clearly illegal thing he was doing, or if his stepdad was already in bed like she said, there goes the plan. What if Clark wasn't an idiot and called the cops on the robber to begin with, or instantly sold them all out to the police? Are we to believe that Mr. Sabatini predicted all of this? I don't know. I've never really been a fan of this trope in films. I've always seen it as kind of an empty hand wave for a story when it doesn't know how to end itself. Then again, maybe I'm just overanalyzing things.
Whenever you notice something like that, a wizard did it.
I see. All right, yes.
The entire concept of illegally transporting a giant lizard across state lines sounds like it could have been a movie all into itself, but The Freshman decides to go for a deeper interpersonal comedy that holds itself up as an underrated classic even today. Its strong central duo and respect for the mafia genre help to provide it with a unique, if not offbeat, comedic style that has been replicated since its release in 1990. Though its pacing and writing can feel weirdly spaced out at times, it doesn't deteriorate from the strength of the core of the film. So like always, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you give it a watch. Though may I just say that now at the end of the review that there is criminally little Komodo dragon in this film, with it only appearing at the start and the end? How could you lie to me, cover? Look at all this lizardry here! But anyway, I'm Quillbus here, signing off. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you on the next video. Adios.